If medieval buildings could talk, they'd laugh at modern shortcuts. Stone cracked, iron rusted, but wood, when treated the old way, refused to quit. Long before steel beams and concrete mixers, builders unlocked a brutal, brilliant method that turned ordinary timber into something closer to engineered armor. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was pressure. Relentless, crushing pressure. And once you understand it, you'll realize why some medieval structures stood firm while entire cities burned, collapsed, and vanished. Welcome back to the Last GlobalWar Fronts, where forgotten methods hit harder than modern myths. The secret wasn't the tree. It was what came after the axe fell. Medieval builders understood something we conveniently forgot. Wood is not weak by default, it's unfinished potential. And when compressed the right way, it becomes shock-resistant, load-hungry, and stubbornly hard to destroy. The wood press was the game-changer, not a factory machine, not some sleek invention. This was a massive frame of beams, wedges, screws, and stone weights designed to squeeze freshly cut timber for weeks or even months. The goal was simple. Force the air out, drive the moisture away, collapse the internal gaps that make wood split, warp, and fail. What came out the other side wasn't just dry lumber. It was densified wood, tougher, heavier, more stable, more dangerous to anything trying to break it. Fresh timber is a liability. It bends, it twists, it shrinks as it dries, tearing buildings apart from the inside. Medieval builders learned early that, well, time alone wasn't enough. So they accelerated the process using pressure. By pressing beams while they dried, the internal fibres were locked into place. That meant fewer cracks, tighter joints, and beams that stayed exactly where they were put. This mattered because medieval buildings didn't rely on nails the way modern ones do. They relied on joinery, mortise and tenon, interlocking frames, compression-based design. If the wood moved, the entire structure suffered. Pressed wood barely moved at all. And here's where things get interesting. Pressed timber didn't just resist decay, it absorbed shock. When storms hit, when walls shifted, when impacts travelled through a structure, compressed wood distributed force instead of snapping. That's why medieval halls, bridges, towers and gates could take punishment and keep standing. Flexibility without weakness, rigidity without brittleness. A balance modern materials still chase. Fast forward centuries and suddenly this knowledge fades. Industrialization prized speed over patience. Kiln drying replaced pressing. Faster, cheaper, but not stronger. Buildings went up quicker, but longevity quietly dropped. Now connect this to World War II. Military engineers relearned an old lesson under fire. Structures that absorbed force survived better than those that resisted it outright. Bunkers failed when they were too rigid. Fortifications cracked when they couldn't flex. Wood, layered and compressed, showed surprising resilience against blasts and shock waves. Not because it was soft, but because it was disciplined, controlled, engineered through pressure. That same logic powered medieval wood presses. Pressed beams were heavier, which meant better load distribution, you see. They resisted insects because the collapsed fibres left fewer spaces for infestation. Fire resistance improved too, quite remarkably. Denser wood burns slower, and less oxygen inside means less fuel for flames. Medieval builders didn't talk chemistry, but they understood results. This is why some medieval timber structures outlasted their stone neighbours. Stone shatters under vibration, whereas wood absorbs it. And when that wood has been pressed into submission, it becomes a quiet tank hiding in plain sight. The press itself was brutally simple, really. Frames anchored to the ground, beams stacked with spacers, pressure applied gradually using wedges, screws, or suspended weights. Builders adjusted tension daily. Too fast and the wood cracked, too slow and rot crept in. This wasn't guesswork. It was experience passed down through hands, not books. The process demanded patience, which is precisely why it faded away. You see, modern timelines simply don't allow for months of meticulous preparation. But that patience, well, it was the price of endurance. Pressed wood, you know, it changed architecture in remarkable ways. Longer spans became possible, and taller halls stood firm, like sentinels of the past. Roofs could carry heavier loads without a hint of sagging. Entire towns, they benefited from structures that didn't need constant repair. Quite a transformation, really. And here's the real kicker. Modern engineers, they've rediscovered densified wood in their labs. They compress timber under extreme pressure, and it rivals steel in strength-to-weight ratios. It's being marketed as quite the innovation. But you know, medieval builders would recognize it instantly. Same principle, just different tools. Fascinating, isn't it? History didn't forget because it failed. It forgot because it took too long. On this channel, we talk a lot about survival, resilience, and why some systems collapse while others endure. The wood press is a perfect lesson. Strength isn't always about adding more material. Sometimes it's about removing weakness, squeezing out failure before it has a chance to grow. World War II proved that materials matter, but mindset matters more. The builders who pressed wood weren't rushing. They were building for generations. They expected war, weather, fire, and time itself to test their work, and they built accordingly. That's not nostalgia, that's strategy. Today we chase faster builds and cheaper fixes. Medieval builders chased permanence, and the wood press was their quiet weapon. No banners, no glory, just structures that refused to fall. If you've ever wondered why some ancient buildings still stand while modern ones crumble, now you know. Pressure made the difference, literally. If this kind of forgotten knowledge fires you up, make sure you subscribe to the Last GlobalWar Fronts. Share this video with someone who thinks old equals obsolete. History still has teeth, and we're here to prove it.